Okay, yeah, welcome to our section, Aim for Flow Excellence with Lightning Flow Scanner. We all know that Flow's on the rise, Salesforce is pushing the topics, this whole citizen developer thing, and also Trailhead is a wonderful platform, but to be honest, at some point you need some more quality, so we want to bring it on the table, because when your org is getting bigger and bigger, then it's not that easy with Flows to really have a scalable solution. So, welcome to the section.
Okay, so my name is Nicolas Pink, Vuillamy, and I am CTO at Cloudity, which is a Salesforce partner in Europe. And I like to spend nights and weekends doing open source, and I participate a little bit, but maybe 1% to what you will see today. And today I am with...
We have Fabian. So the guy on the picture is really me. It was 5 years ago, so people tell me I look now younger, so I can go back in time. I'm also Salesforce architect, project ambassador. This means I'm also brought ideas and improvements to the project, but I'm not the mastermind behind it. So he's also not the mastermind.
And someone should have been here today, but for personal reasons he wasn't able. But Ruben, without him, we wouldn't be here, and Lightning Flow Scanner wouldn't be him. So the Lightning Flow Scanner has been fully built by Ruben Hallman, who is a technical consultant at PwC Netherlands. And so he created the Flow Scanner. He's a really nice person. So I encourage you to contact him if you want any evolutions or bugs or whatever. So thanks, Ruben, because he will look at the, the replay. Okay, so I think you recognize, but it's special. So before showing you the tool, we'll try to explain why it has been created. And to explain why, we will, let's say, describe a little situation. So let's take a peek into the future, or maybe to the present, where there are flows everywhere, because it's really nice to be able to create flows. But you can create screen flows, record trigger flows, and many types of flows. And at the end, you will have hundreds or thousands of flows everywhere. And if you don't enforce best quality, everything will explode, and your clients won't be happy because your production won't work anymore.
Okay, then let's come back to a real-life demo. So this was my last project, huge enterprise project with more than 2,500 full licenses, some community license, 8 different project teams from CPQ, sales service, cloud craze, everything you can imagine. They just put money on the table and bought everything. And my job was it to implement field service in France. So, fun fact. I'm here, and yeah, this was a political project, and also a lot of different challenges. For example, there was no center of excellence approach, and no really guidance or governance. So the documentation on conflicts mostly was based on Visualforce pages. But the company decided to go with a flow-first approach. So more or less everything should be based on flows if it's possible, and we shipped more or less 200 features a month. So a lot of things to do also for the CI and deployment managers. And this was the setup, a lot of fun.
So I think I like to pack images in presentations to make them less boring. So with the colors, I think the effect is broken. But you can imagine a big plate of pasta and of spaghetti, and it's a big mix with many flows, and everyone is adding new flows again, and nobody is monitoring everything, the best practice, the quality. Senior consultants don't have the time to validate what the junior consultants do. So basically, at the end, it's a mess, and all you can do is look, but you are helpless. But what could we do?
What can we do? Yeah, we need to do some pull request feedback, or let's say we have somebody in place to challenge all these things. because I saw a lot of times where we have hard-coded IDs, we have socket craze or DML operational loops, missing fault paths. I think you know all that stuff. Some of them are more critical and some are like best practice, but they are not really blockers. But in the end, when we have a huge project, there should be a guidance, because when one guy starts to do own stuff, naming conventions, then the other one will follow, and then it's a mess. So a small problem in the beginning can be a bigger one in the future. So better be, better decline more than approve too much.
Okay, so when you don't enforce all the nice best practice you just described, what can happen? I think this stuff happened in many of your orgs already, or if not, probably in the future. First issue can be the good old crash in production. Because there is, for example, DML inside the loop. So when you have a few data, a few records in your production, it's okay. Once you start to have many datas, the loops explode. So it can be a problem. When it doesn't explode, you are lucky, but you can be lucky and have slow performances, because if flows are built without respecting performances best practice, or if you have what we call ping-pong automation, meaning you have a record-triggered flow on account, and it calls another one, which calls another one, and a lot. So, okay, you can have awful performances that can decrease the user adoption of Salesforce, which is not a good sign usually. And if you still survive that, you come to the maintenance costs. Because when you have a lot of complicated flows that are difficult to maintain, it means that every time you will want to make an update, you will have to test again everything, or to take a lot of risk. So, so if you have a lot of flows and you don't have any enforcement of best practices, it means that the more and more you will progress in time, the more and more any update will be expensive and risky for your production org. And even if you survive all that, you can also have deployment issues. Let's say with an hard-coded ID, it will work in your sandbox. You want to deploy. Okay, maybe it will work, but it will crash. But you can also break test classes, etc. So if you don't do well with the flows, that is everything that, as Yoda says, will happen to you. Okay, so very dark painting, but we like to stay positive in the Trailblazer ecosystem. So let's see. How can we avoid such situation to happen in the future?
Yeah, so we listed here some best practices. For example, no? we talked about it, avoid hard-coded IDs, don't do DML operations or queries in a loop, use fault paths. When you query for a record, you have to be sure that this record is existing, otherwise you need a fault path. Naming convention, description in flows. For example, in our last project, there was the rule to put the Jira linkage always in the description of the flow, so it was also easier for admins to follow up who did the last changes in the flow. Things like that, or some of them are really common. Other ones are maybe more like a cosmetic thing. I saw flows where a lot of elements have been copied and the naming was always copy off, copy off, copy off. And in the end, it's a mess. So please, let's try to really build good quality flows.
Okay, so there is an easy way to validate that flows are good. So let's say that you are either a release manager or a senior consultant. When a junior consultant makes a new flow, you can simply open the XML of the flow and see, joking, no, nobody wants to read XML in a flow. XML of permission sets, okay, XML of a flow, it is simply a torture. So we don't want to do that.
True.
What we could do is use a tool that will review for you the XML. So the tool will read the XML, find issues, and tell you in English the issues that has been found.
Wow, really? Is this new?
It exists for 2 years, but
wow.
there has been a big adoption this latest months, thanks to Ruben's hard work again.
And it is for free?
Yes, it is open source.
Wow.
Everything is for free.
So I don't need extra license and pay 20% of my license extra?
But if you want to pay us for using a free tool, you can. We accept. But really, you just have to download it, install it, and it's all ready to use out of the box.
I don't trust you.
But I hope so. But who will do the demo?
Okay, then let's see.
I hope you trust yourself.
Yeah.
So what can we find, Fabian, in the Lightning Flow Scanner?
Yeah, the most of the things we already mentioned. For demo purpose, we show some smaller examples because refactoring a really complex flow and putting the DML outside the loop will take time. We don't have that much time, but feel free to come to us afterwards or raise some questions. So we will work with some smaller examples, and I will show you the IDE and a small demo ASAP.
But before showing the demo, let's show some pink again, and show that there is first a Visual Studio Code extension. So you just go to the Visual Studio Marketplace, you look for Lightning Flow Scanner, you find it, you install it, it's ready to use. So the Lightning Flow extension will scan flow, can export results in CSV for better readability. You can also see the documentation of the rules that are checked and also why they are checked. And if you are already in the future and using Code Builder, so it is VS Code in the browser, the extension is compliant with VS Code. And Ruben is currently working on a new feature that will fix flows. Probably not the DML in the loop, but some of the rules, like unconnected elements or unused variables. There will be tools to auto-fix issues. And for nerds like me who like command lines, CI/CD, pull request, etc., you don't want to use Visual Studio Code to check your flows. You can integrate directly in your CI/CD pipeline the Lightning Flow Scanner that will generate blocking issues or not blocking issues and detailed reports that will tell you everything that is wrong in your flows and what is the severity of each error. So you can configure it, you can call it locally or in CI/CD. And if you are a SFDXRDis user, it is also available in Megalinter, so it is called by default out of the box. I think this is your time, Fabian, because I don't know how to build a flow.
Yeah, let's see how this will work with one hand. But we see currently Visual Code Studio, so we talked about an extension. Extension means you can go to the left side. This is called extensions, and then just search for Flow Scanner. Then this page will appear here, and you see all of the currently implemented rules, and also see the commands here. Fix flow, this is on the roadmap, but you have also the scan functionality, and yeah, we are ready to go. So currently we have a small org prepared with 3 demo flows, and we want to check it. So scan flow is the command, really easy to do. No command line actions. Everything is done by the...
Sorry for the epileptic people in the room.
Yeah. And yeah, we just have to select the flows folders when you want to analyze all of them. Otherwise, you can pick them one by one. And when you want to save time, then just use one flow to check. But to be honest, I tested it with the org I explained before, and it took like 2 or 3 minutes to check all of the 1,000 flows. So it's not that critical to run them all.
Whoa,
so you see,
that's fast.
That was fast. We analyzed 3 different flows. Yeah, they have the same naming like the roots. It was easier for us to recognize them later on. But you can also disable some of the rules when you say, okay, some of them are not really needed for my purpose. I only want to check for the critical stuff, like here DML statements in loop, for example. Okay, so this is the current situation. You can expand the list and see, okay, in this hard-coded ID, I see the API name of the element. So in the create test account, an hard-coded ID was used. And you can also go there and check the flow name. XY coordinates, whatever you need, which will help you to go to the flow and fix it. And you can go here and download the results and save it in a CSV file. Replace it, good to go. Okay, so we have the current situation and we want to easily fix that. Hard-coded IDs, unconnected element, and unused variables. 3 different problems, 3 different flows. Oop. So, and here we go. Hopefully we are still logged in. Yes, perfect. And is it big enough? Okay, so hard-coded ID. We checked already in the description that it is used in the create test account. And here we say owner is hard-coded. So this may work. We see that it's a user, but this user is maybe not available on production. So let's go with another approach and say we assign it to the current user who's running the flow. Save it. And activate it. And this was a small fix, same as this is an easy one to fix this one. So unused variables, we have an empty screen. So I don't know if we need in the future a rule for that. I don't know how this is happening, but we see also here on the left side in the toolbox that we have an unused variable. So here you see it's not referenced anywhere, so we can delete it, save it, activate it, and we are fine with that. And last but not least, the unconnected element. So also an easiest one, you think about, okay, is it really happening? It is. So I saw it a lot of times that you have somewhere in the left corner, you really need to scroll down, and then there's an assignment which was missed. So we can delete that also easily to fix this problem. Activate it, and now it's time to check the result. So we go back to our IDE, refresh the flows folder, and just grab all of them and overwrite them. Not best practice, but for demo purpose, I think this is good enough. And we are good to go, I think. Let me check. Yep. Ended, retrieved.
Fake warning like yesterday in the Dreamin.
Yeah, just a warning. You know, warnings are no problems.
You can post a case Trailblazer community.
Okay, so we close everything that we are sure that we don't mess up with the old result, and run the check again and see, ta-da, no, 0 results for all of them. So we fixed 3 different flows. Happy, happy. Okay, so this section was labeled as a developer node. This was more like admin. So I want just to show some more. We talked about that you can put it into your IDE, into your CI, and the easy command here to run is sfdx flow scan. And currently we have 0 results in 3 flows. So this is not really how to do it in a pipeline, but we have a documentation. You will find it in the Git repository. Everything is linked also here. When you go to the extension, you can check how genius Ruben is in the background. You can see all of the different commands, documentation, links to the repository.
You can define your own flow naming convention with a regular expression. So ask ChatGPT, he knows.
Yeah. So this is better documented than most of the other projects. I really like it. You have different folders for the Visual Code extensions and also for the SFDX plugin. And here you have more options to adjust it. For example, you can then define on your own if it is an error or if it's a warning. So an error could, for example, block the deployment, and warning is okay for now. Yeah, a lot of different documentation. You can jump directly with the hyperlinks to the implementation code. So if you want to make it your own, maybe tweak it a little bit, feel free, fork the project. Can also ask to to make it one of the main version. So feel free to contribute also when you have some ideas. So I have not worked on this implementation stuff. I just give 3 or 4 ideas and they are now part of the package. So this is, I think, the spirit of open source.
I think too.
So, okay, I hope you liked it. We have also the last slide of the presentation here, where you can scan it.
I told Ruben that I will ask for GitHub stars. So if you have GitHub accounts, you can start the repository. And because when you work for free as open source, you don't have you are not paid, but you are paid with stars. So I'm sure Ruben will like it, and also it shows the adoption of the community. So basically, the more adoption this tool will have, the more enhancements there will be, and the more clean our orgs will be with the flows. So don't hesitate to directly interact with Ruben and the rest of the team on GitHub.
Question and or ideas for improvement?
I didn't see it on the list of the current features. So the question is one of the biggest pains as well as the dependencies between multiple flows or repeated elements, things like this. So is it on the roadmap? Can I approach Ruben and give this idea, or do you know anything about his?
So you mean, for example, have a reference to a flow that doesn't exist or stuff like that?
No, I mean sometimes when people build too many flows on the same object without talking to each other, then we end up with some repeated elements or dependencies, which also influences the deployment. So it's not only an issue within one flow, like the ID is mixed.
Okay, it's a mix.
They mix the big picture.
I think we can discuss with Ruben about some enhancements, but to be able to do that, you would need to be able to describe in English how we can check. So if you describe to us in English how we can check such issue, it is possible that we build an algorithm that will check for it. It looks complicated, but never say never.
Yeah. So just an example, this is not a big deal to say, okay, I have the total amount of flows per object. So say, okay, my limit is 20 objects for account. Or let's say we don't want to have multiple levels of embedded flows. So maybe you have a main flow and one auto launch flow embedded in that, but not a third level. So we could do that if it's adding value to your project.
I think to test the performance, you need to run the flows. So this tool is based on the static analysis on the XML, and I think just seeing the XML doesn't. I think we would need something called AI or whatever, maybe some Einstein feature will not do that today, someday. But the performances, it is the check at the runtime. So I think. It's more something like, I don't know if it's existing in a Salesforce event monitoring feature. I think Salesforce provides or will provide some tools allowing to check that, but Lightning Flow Scanner scans the structures and the logic of the flows, but unfortunately not the performances. But maybe we could make something that if you say there is more than, I don't know, 100 elements, you say that probably there will be poor performances and we could raise a flag. But it would be just an assumption.
I have another idea. So for record triggered flows, you have also test classes and you could run them. So this would be an option, but what is a good KPI for performance and what's not? Yeah.
You say you identify if a DML in the loop, but in my loop, if I call a subflow, and this subflow
Not covered yet.
Someday. It's not impossible, but well,
But really good idea, so let's raise it. Hopefully we'll have them on the
we
roadmap.
encourage you to post an issue on the repository. Is there other questions? JP? No, you love flows, JP. No?
Can we go back to the slide, to the bad practices? There is some new I have not seen.
This one or another one?
It was before.
Yes?
Yes, this one. The custom settings missing this criteria.
Yeah. So we use it in bigger projects to have like a toggle. So for example, one for interfaces and one generally for automations. When we want to import records or do some manipulations, then we maybe don't want to run flows for that object. So it's like security thing to have on a high level of the flow, or maybe also an entry criteria to have a custom setting mentioned, and you can easily go to the setup and say everything off, and then you can import records if you want to.
So is that a way these flow scanners to look at duplicate fields, for example? You know, sometimes you no longer use these specific fields, but you don't delete it. You know, so maybe the flow can scan how often the data be into these specific fields, or is it really deprecate so that we know, we can take
How do you flag a deprecated field? How do you know that the field is deprecated?
Yeah, so sometimes we can go to the fields and then we set as duplicate. Right?
Okay.
That's one way. Or sometimes you don't do anything, you just don't send any data to the field.
So I think it is not covered by the flow scanner, but someday Maxime here, who works on the monitoring of orgs, he is able to know when there is a metadata which is not used by anything. So maybe we can tweak a little the thing to check if something uses a deprecated metadata. So probably not in flow scanner someday, but in another tools soon.
Yeah. So currently we're analyzing one flow, but to really have a big picture, you should then analyze everything which is going on that object. So this is possible, but not included yet.
Because if you check in flows, you have to also check in validation rules in everywhere, not just in flows.
In my project, we have the one rules, and if the flow trigger, we want to have a bypass. For example, if you are to load a lot of data and we don't know to execute the flow triggers, it's possible with flow scanner to identify if a flow trigger and no bypass get onto.
This is what I mean by custom setting.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.